My name is Emily Budd. I teach sculpture and 3D foundations at UNLV. Halfway through the semester, everything, was totally changed at the last minute. I didn't want to even pretend that we could continue with the classes as they were. So I was really thinking about using this as an opportunity to get the students to think about how artists respond to current events, circumstances in our lives, different experiences that different people go through in various crises, and how art can be used to interpret that. So in Sculpture 1, I was using Fluxus-inspired assignments to get the students to think about more about the process and the product. I feel like in these times and in these circumstances, especially with sculpture, that this was a great opportunity to think about process and experimentation over the final product. So I saw a lot of students like really pushing themselves with rethinking their everyday materials, their everyday items in their space around them. In foundations, I had the students do an assignment based on Tom Sachs knolling, so they could all gather their materials. We were told last minute that we no longer had the studio, so a lot of students didn't have any materials or tools, and I didn't feel like it was right to make them buy more things. So I really wanted to push them to experiment with what they had, whether it be plants from the backyard or childhood memories and photos or an old magazine, and to really push how you can create a new 3D form out of existing items. And then in foundations, I also did an entire section on recycled materials. I thought this would be a great opportunity to look at those as a resource for artists. When you think about like plastics and foil and metal, like these are all materials that are recycled for a reason, like they're really valuable. And plastics come in great colors and you can cut it really easy. So we did dioramas as well as a survival gear project with recycled materials. And I thought some of the outcomes were great. Luckily, we had already had a lot of experience in cardboard. So I was really able to use the fact that there's so much cardboard in our lives right now, getting shipments of things and just generally, anything that comes in cardboard can be used now for art. And a lot of students still had a good base of supplies in 2D, like for example, like paint and that kind of thing. So I really encouraged them to paint the things they were building to really transform those materials. Yeah, the survival gear project was a way of getting them to think about issues surrounding these times and what kind of uncertainties they may bring up for the future. And the way that students interpreted that were all over the place. Some students were really just sick of talking about coronavirus. And I was really impressed to see that even though the students were limited with their materials, they could still really pull out their unique story and their point of view and apply it to these assignments. In the diorama project, I asked them to make a quarantine theme, whether it was something that relays what we're experiencing right now, or if it's a total escape from that. So some of the students, interpreted that in either way. Some were a little more dark, some were very uplifting, all over the board. So those were really interesting to see. We also did a time-based object that was Fluxus inspired. So again, thinking about the process more than the end result. And I had them actually like compile videos or stop motion or timeline, however they wanted to show an object in time. So they had to take apart an item and rebuild it and then document the process and then submit that as a final combined element. One of the best things this semester, a student named Brianna Hansen did a before and after of a broken lawn chair in her backyard and converted it into an amazing sculpture garden, or sculptural greenhouse, I should say. it's amazing. And I think probably a portfolio piece for her.